dissected society to the point where people are no longer capable of dealing with their own humanity. We must go to specialists. We must find, get direction from somebody who went specifically to school for this one particular thing. Such as like with doctors today, we no longer have general practitioners. Now we have somebody who specializes just in your feet, just in your hands, just in your eyes. But within the people, as it was always said, that whenever there is something needed, that the person will rise out of the people. And the person would rise out of the people to be the doctors of the people. And that person doesn't specialize just in eyes or feet or fingers. That person is a doctor to the people on all levels, so that when that person looks into your eyes, they can tell what is bothering you, what is troubling you mentally, what is troubling you physically. They can tell you if there is a problem with your feet, if there's a problem with your hands. But in this society, in the non-native society, the practice of dissecting humanity has led to the belief, even to right here amongst the people here, as I hear you discussing, that you are talking very with strong conviction, speaking about the Human Rights Declaration. Within our people, humans do not have rights. If you want to look in this world who has human rights, you look to the trees, you look to the grass, the water, the sky. Those things have human rights. We have responsibilities. You do not have the right to affect these things. You have the responsibility to protect those things. As we heard earlier, someone was talking about education. Imagine if you have the right to education. Who's going to give you that education? If you have the right to it, where are you going to get it? Where are you going to travel to find this education? You do not have the right. You have the responsibility. You have the responsibility to teach your children the truth. But in today's world, when you have the right to education, then your children have the equal right to the equal access of the education that everybody in this world is getting. And what's the education they are getting? They are getting education of how to dissect creation, how to destroy creation. So if you want to have the right to education, then you will be just like everybody else. But this is what we all are here to be fighting against. We have to work the confusion out of our minds. You have been living for over 2,000 years under male dominance. And under male dominance has just been a path of destruction. Destroying everything. Destroying first the women, destroying the children, emasculating the men where they can no longer protect the women or the children, where our manhood is taken away, that we can no longer provide for our children the proper life, the proper education, the proper world that we are supposed to. We are left trying to exert our rights. This is the design of man. To dissect your brain, where you will spend all day just trying to find and trying to decipher a certain law. And that, as we know, the legal world throughout the world is based on the English language. And the English language, you cannot be more corrupt than any other language in this world. The English language is the most corrupt language, designed so that you can never get to the truth. But this is the language of law throughout the world. So we allow the language of lies to be the determining factor in all the things that we do. And we abide by the laws that that language creates. We allow it to decipher to us what our rights are. And it tells you that you have human rights. Look what happens to this world when you have human rights. You do not have the right. None of you. None of us have the right. Again, you have the responsibility. Now think about that. If you have the responsibility to give your children the truth, to educate them truthfully, who are you going to trust to educate them? Are you going to send them to the universities? Are you going to send them to the elementary schools? Are you going to send them to the CEGEPs? Keep sending your children there, and you know what you're going to populate this world with? The very thing that is populating these buildings around here, the very people, the very minds that are destroying our Mother Earth. This is not our right. That is a destructive thing that we have all succumbed to. The UN Declaration of Human Rights gives us nothing. All it does is it takes away. The UN Declaration of Indigenous Rights is based on the UN Declaration of Human Rights. And I'll tell you this, as much as the world views the UN Declaration of Indigenous Rights as to be a good thing, I will tell you that it's the worst thing ever. It is worse than man-made religions. But you may think it's good. And indigenous people around the world may think it's good for one reason. Because a so-called Mohawk helped to pen that UN Declaration on Indigenous Rights. A guy called Kenneth Deere from Kanawaki, who sits in the Warrior Society, who's been in the pocket of the government all along. That UN Declaration on Indigenous Rights is no good for you, but if it is based upon the UN Declaration of Human Rights, it's no good for anybody. The UN Declaration of Indigenous Rights sounds very good to people who have their minds locked into a certain belief about law. And when you have this certain belief of law, then it sounds good because your brain, once again, is dissected into a million different pieces that when you're talking about this one piece, you cannot associate it with this other thing over here that is destroying you. But when you're looking at it as this one single thing over here, it appears to be a good thing. But it is destructive because it is part and parcel to the whole body. And the whole body is man-made destruction. It is what has been destroying your society for thousands of years. It has been what has been oppressing, raping, and murdering women ever since the inception of man-made religions. It is what has subdued our Mother Earth. And again, emasculated the men. Because what can you do as a man in this world to protect your children? What can you do to ensure that you can protect as a man the women? Not a damn thing, because everything in this world is ensuring that the women continue on that path of oppression. That we continue to oppress them. Even though that the women may feel that they have the freedom today. You have the freedom to decide if you're going to wear 4-inch high heels or 6-inch high heels. Or you got the freedom to decide if you're going to wear a skirt below the knee or above the knee. You have the freedom to decide all the decisions that this man-made world has given you. But not the freedom to live the way that women are supposed to live, to be free and grow, evolve the people. It is the women that evolve the people. The men do nothing in this world, as we can see, except oppress the people. And don't forget that it's the men that created these laws. It's the men that created these laws that have subdued the true power and spirit of the women. And by extension, subdued our Mother Earth. Currently in the process of having everybody in this world focusing on a million different things that is wrong. A couple of weeks ago, I was in the Occupy Wall Street the day before they shut down on a Sunday. And I walked around that whole place. To me, it was a circus. There was nobody there that I would give my time to speak to. But I happened to see two women sitting in wheelchairs. They had multiple sclerosis, and I asked them, what's your current gripe on what the government's doing, you know, this and that. And they told me the legitimate gripes, but they identified that with all the cutbacks and all of this, they identified that people like them, people with multiple sclerosis, are being found dead in their apartments. What's your current gripe on what the government's doing, you know, this and that. And they told me the legitimate gripes, but they identified that with all the cutbacks and all of this, they identified that people like them, people with multiple sclerosis, are being found dead in their apartments in Manhattan because of all the cutbacks. That's because they have human rights. And that's because you have human rights. The right to not be your brother's keeper. And that has been instilled in you through your man-made religions. That you have the right to forget your responsibilities in this world. Within the native world, there is constitution. There is law. And that is a matrilineal law. That is a law that brings men into balance. That does not allow men the right to do what they want. In your world, in the non-native world, this has been your problem. The women have been subdued, they have been destroyed, and men have had the right to do this. This is your problem. You cannot kill your mother, and at the end of the day, expect things to be good in your world. If you expect that, then you are insane. Just as insane as the very men who started those religions, oppressing, raping, and murdering your mothers. When I spoke to these two women in Manhattan, they cried when I spoke to them, and I told them that where the fight is not in the areas, regardless of how legitimate, in the areas that they have their own special interest. Their fight isn't to fight for more money for people with multiple sclerosis. Just as somebody who's fighting for education, that isn't your fight. That's what the government wants you to do. They want you to focus on the thing that you are going to benefit from. They want you to focus on something else. They want everybody to focus on their own individual thing. And as you're focused on those things, there's you over there arguing against the whole government machination on your own. There's this person arguing against the whole government machination on their own. The whole world is arguing 6.5 billion people as 6.5 billion, well 7 now, 7 billion individuals on their own, getting nowhere. Because right under our noses, right in front of your face, war has been declared on our Mother Earth. By who? By your government. Yep. What they just done with the Kyoto Accord, the line is drawn, not in the sand. The line is now drawn in blood. Because it has been declared war on our Mother Earth, and by extension, declared war on anybody who would try to protect and defend her. And who is that? Around the world, it's the indigenous people, mostly. And those people are getting killed. Some of you may recall this. I think it was 2 summers ago in Peru or Chile? Peru. In Peru. They were, was it the Shuar? It was the Shuar people. They were stopping the logging trucks and the mining trucks from going to the Amazon rainforest. And the Army helicopters came and hovered 50 feet above them and mowed them down with machine guns. 29 people. Now, if you don't already know that, and you don't believe me, then you go and find that out for yourself. And you'll also find out that the reason why those 29 indigenous people were mowed down with machine guns, killed in cold blood, is so that Barrick Gold, which comes from right here, Coca-Cola, which comes from right here, and all other mining companies coming from right here, so that they could have the right to go in. This is what human rights gives you. It gives you the right to kill the indigenous people who live on that land and protect our Mother Earth. And it gives you the right to go in and live there. With this crazy, insane, backwards way of thinking, backwards way of living on our Mother Earth, true people are killed, removed from their function upon our Mother Earth, and replaced with destructors of our Mother Earth. This is what human rights gives you. You don't have human rights. If you want human rights, we do not want to work with you. If you want to exercise your obligations, your responsibilities, then I'll say to you, you will have no choice but to work with us. Because as this world is getting smaller and smaller, and as they are squeezing out all the true people, you have almost nobody left to work with. You have almost nobody left as a root to your humanity. Because I'll say this to you also. What you're seeing in Kanawaki, everybody's saying, oh, these poor natives, they're so poor. Help them. What you're seeing is the face of genocide. You're not seeing a people who need help. They do not need your help. What they need you to do is stop murdering. That's what they need you to do. Is it you? Everybody here wants to remove themselves from this practice of genocide. Nobody wants to be associated with it. I'll tell you that it's the Canadian government under the British Crown that is responsible for what is happening in Kanawaki, which is causing the genocide that you're seeing. That is the face of genocide. And you're ashamed to see it. How could this happen in our country? No, this can't happen here. You only say that because inside, in your subconscious, you are ashamed. You know why you're ashamed? Because what you are a part of, what you give power to, what you give your money to, is a bunch of goddamn murderers. Always has been, always will be. Will not change. So what is it that you want the right to? What you need the right to is the right to exercise your humanity, the right to your identity. What is your identity? Is a bunch of goddamn murderers. Always has been, always will be. Will not change. So what is it that you want the right to? What you need the right to is the right to exercise your humanity, the right to your identity. What is your identity? What's a Canadian's identity? There's no such animal. There's no such animal as that. There's no such animal as an American. What is that? Where did he come from? Yeah. Where is this place? America. There's no such animal as a European or an Asian. When we identify in these ways that man has dissected us, then we remove ourselves from humanity. You have a human responsibility. You have a human identity that has been suppressed within inside of you for over 2,000 years. This is what you need back, your humanity. And I'll tell you, the only way you can get your humanity back is to stop the murdering that you are doing. How do you stop the murdering that you are doing? Stop your government. Stop your goddamn government. Because your government not only is killing the people, but you know, there is nobody who can say you don't know now. You know that your government is killing our Mother Earth. This is beyond any shadow of a doubt. Any scientist who will argue man-made global climate change is an asshole. That's what they are. Anyone who will argue against it is a total idiot. The people who are saying that it's not happening provide you with all kinds of statistics that no, it's not like this. And then we have to listen to these people on the radio, on the television, in your government. They are the people that are advising your governments. They are the people that are advising your industry that is moving into the territories where the indigenous people live, protecting the land. And it's those industries that are killing those indigenous people, killing the land. I'll say to you, as what I've seen in the different occupations, not to offend you, I'll tell you, I don't have to ask you. You do not know. You do not have the answer. The only answer is for you to come home. To come home to humanity. Not to go back home in the sense as that, well, go back to Europe, go back to France, go back to Britain, go back to wherever. No. Come back home to your humanity. Where the balance is between the male and the female. Where matrilineal authority is the law. Where the women are the power. And the men only represent under the authority of the women. This is home. This is where you come from. You don't come from this crazy, insane, man-made world. You don't come from that insanity of how they've distorted your brain and turned it around to where you see this world upside down and everything you do in it is upside down. Everything is backwards. I know that I perhaps should not be talking to you like this because I know that it is you that is standing up against this. But it is also you that is being misled. I have seen it. I've seen it here. I've seen it in the other occupations. There are people misleading you. If you want the truth, like I said, come back home. You got no choice at this point. You can spend the rest of your life chasing your tail around like a dog, trying to find the answers. I'll guarantee you, you will never find the answer. You will never be able to create the solution from the knowledge that you have, because the knowledge you have has been given to you by male dominance, and male dominance is the destruction. How will you get the answers to fix the destruction from within the mentality of destruction? There is no answers in that. You have to come home. The indigenous people are waiting for you. They always have been. They have always welcomed you. And they always will. But you are facing a current problem also. Is that there's almost no home for you to return to. That there is almost no more indigenous people. Almost all the council fires have been put out. There is almost no council fires that burn anymore. There's a lot of indigenous people. They look native. But they're making deals with the government, like the Plan Nord. They're making deals to diamond mine in their territory. Why? Because the UN Declaration of Indigenous Rights identifies that they have the right, that the native people have the right to benefit from our own resources. So when you tell a native that, right away their mind changes to greed, male dominance, and corruption. What we want to know is who were the 16 people who chained themselves on that day when they came in to remove you physically. That's what we want to know. We want to have a private meeting with those 16 people. At some time over the coming weeks, if you can identify this, if you can contact us, it's very important that we meet as soon as possible. For the rest of everybody, it's very important. You have no time to waste. Your life has to change completely. 3 years ago, the Mohawk Traditional Council identified that the current status, the current state of the health of our Mother Earth has reached emergency status, where you do not have the luxury of returning to your jobs. You don't have the luxury of returning to your education. You don't have the luxury to returning to your lifestyle. You don't have the time for that. Our Mother Earth does not have the time for that. If you want to keep wasting your time and have your energy be transferred over to those entities that would destroy, then continue on the path that you're on. If you don't want to waste your time, if you want to get somewhere, if you want to do something, again, you must contact the indigenous people. And when I say this to you, now you must judge who is the indigenous people. Like when you come into Kanawaki, you will have to judge who are the Mohawks in Kanawaki, because you will see all the development and all the destruction. Are those Mohawks? They're not. Who are they? They're not human. We have already separated ourselves from those less than people. And we have done this throughout the territories, within all the indigenous people, so that, you know what? So that we can exercise our responsibility of educating our children and teaching our children the truth. And not to say just because the person next to me, if they look like a Mohawk, I'm not going to tell my sons that they are Mohawk. I'm going to identify who is Mohawk only because of, so that we can exercise our responsibility of educating our children and teaching our children the truth. And not to say just because the person next to me, if they look like a Mohawk, I'm not going to tell my sons that they are Mohawk. I'm going to identify who is Mohawk only because of what their identity is and how they exercise their identity. And I will not allow my sons to work with any of you either, unless you are working from within your true identity as a human being. The struggle for your humanity has begun. We are in a battle now, full-blown. A war the likes of what this world has never seen, because this war is being fought in the human intellect. And it's a struggle for you to keep your humanity. Try to keep your humanity when all this insanity around you is forcing you down the path of working against it. How could you kill 60 million buffalo? Think about that. How could you do that? You can say, that was 120 years ago. It wasn't me. You know who that was? That was your grandparents. Think about that. Let's get together and say, let's kill 60 million cats and we'll pay you $10 for every cat head that you bring here. You would say that's insane, right? Well, let's kill something smaller, 60 million birds. You would still say that's insane. But yet you have done it. And you have not corrected it. You know about it, and you still allow it to continue. If you had information of somebody that was killed 50 years ago, if you have that information, and you say nothing about it, aren't you an accomplice? Yes, you are. You are guilty. Return to your humanity. And it is not going to be easy for you. For you, it will be the hardest. And the reason why it will be the hardest for you, because the path that you are on has been trampled ahead of you by a bunch of insane people. And at the end of the day, you find that the people you have been following are insane. What do you think is going to happen to you at the end of that day? Well, insane people led you. Where do you think that they led you? Do you think that you're not going to be subject to the world that they've created? This is why it will be harder for you. This, when you experience that struggle and that harshness, then you will be able to identify that you are on the path. Come back home. We are waiting for you. Come.
This is my son, the Karaje, Maritime representative. I also want to mention, glad everybody's here. Thank you for listening to our words. Also, the fact that we are here at the nighttime for, and Grandmother Moon, her face is out for everybody to see. It's a full moon tonight. I just want to mention because every full moon on the mountain, we have a moon ceremony. That's for the females and the males to get together to work in balance with one another. The night before the full moon, excuse me. So we had a moon ceremony last night on the mountain, and everybody is walking there. It's just up the hill above the statue. What's that statue called? Obelisk. And that's where I know every time, once in a while, we see some people here from occupied Montreal, but it's very important that we find the ways to get together to continue this. I'm really glad to see that you guys continue talking and not let this motion die, that just because the people were removed from the square, you didn't give up, that you still continue to meet. Wherever you meet is good, whether it's out in the cold or above where everyone used to be. But I wanted to mention also that you people meet on the mountain. It's not only like political reasons, but for spiritual and ceremonial. You have to use your ceremony to make you stronger for all the things that are going to come soon. And we don't want our politics to overwhelm us. Our ceremonies and our politics go together. They're not separate. And that is the way that the females and the males can share with one another how we can reconnect with our Mother the Earth, because that's the time when we do the moon ceremony where you can get your energies back. Because I know when you guys meet for all these things, it drains you, but when we have the moon ceremony, this is where we draw from our grandmother the moon and Sky Woman, Aruga, Orneonesu. And I just wanted to mention that because maybe some of you are not aware that we do meet in other locations because we have to return back to our ceremonies. It's not just our politics and our laws that are important, but the ceremonies help us strengthen our spirits. So,
where is that ceremony is held?
Up the hill on the, what's it called?
Near the Tam-Tams on Mount Royal.
Yeah, where the statue is?
Where the statue, about 100 meters behind the statue, up the hill.
Okay, we'll open the floor to a few questions that people may raise their hand if they had questions before we move on until you have maybe another speaker or to close the night. So if anybody has any questions, and before we start with the questions, our website is mohawktraditionalcouncil.org. So if you need directions or you want date and times or anything else, our email address, everything you can find on there, and then we can help you find your way to the mountain to the moon ceremony.
When is going to be? Because I was listening, but I didn't know.
It's the night before the full moon. Every moon, it's the night before.
So it was yesterday.
So it was last night we had the ceremony there.
Oh, it's already done.
Every month.
You had a question?
Okay.
Yeah, so are you inviting people in the movement to go back home as in your home? Are you offering it's people, are you just offering to the 16 who couple themselves? Or is this, because I'm sure there's many people here who respect what you said and respect the point of view and want to learn. And so I'm wondering what sort of invitation is this? Is this an invitation for people who want to, like, is this to do ceremonies? Is this something that we do a couple of weekends? Is this a lifelong experience of joining the community? And I felt that, I could be wrong, but I felt sometimes you were inviting and then pushing away. So I'm just wondering if you could clarify that. Like, what sort of engagement are you talking about? What sort of learning process we can get involved in? And please know that a lot of people here are very interested in going there. But it'd be nice if you just explain maybe exactly what you're offering.
We are inviting and pushing away at the same time. We're inviting the people who have open minds and who are willing to work in balance, to bring the balance back between the male and the female. But at the same time, we're pushing away. We don't want anybody who has this male-dominant mentality. We don't want it. It has no place in this world. It has no place with us. This is not how the Kanawaki people work. It's not.
Are very interested in going there, but it'd be nice if you just explain maybe exactly what you're offering.
We are inviting and pushing away at the same time. We're inviting the people who have open minds and who are willing to work in balance, to bring the balance back between the male and the female. But at the same time, we're pushing away. We don't want anybody who has this male-dominant mentality. We don't want it. It has no place in this world. It has no place with us. This is not how the Kanawaki people work. It's not how any of the people work here. Like it was said many times, the insanity, which we can't even begin to fathom, is how on that side, how man has killed their mother. We can't understand it. It's something that is diametrically opposite to the way that we are hardwired to think. So we don't want any part of it. No part of that. So if you carry any of that in you, we're saying we don't want it. We're saying push it away. Now, we're not pushing you away. But if it's in you, you push it out of you. So that you don't expose us to it. So that you don't expose the children to it. We have beautiful little girls, little children, who are the future mothers of our nations and who are treated as such, who are honored and respected just for being female. And we don't want this crazy male-dominant mentality around them. So yes, we invite you, but at the same time we push that away. So understand one thing also, is that we are not necessarily inviting you to come and talk to us. We're just identifying to you that an action that you must take. We may be lying through our teeth to you. We may be the worst thing ever. That's for you to determine. You decide. Start on your path of being in control of your own life, making your decisions the right way. So maybe you won't want to listen. A lot of people say, I talk too harsh. I don't care. Got a hard, crazy world we got to deal with. We got no time to waste. We got to cut through the garbage, through the nonsense, and find those people who are awakening. And sometimes, you know, that's a little bit of harshness we got to deal with. So, the invitation is there for you to wake up.
Yes, sir.
You determine from there where you're going to go. Maybe you're not going to come and see us. Doesn't matter if you come and see us. Don't matter to us. But you determine where you're going to go to. Because this is the way the world is. Ball of light. Now think of this. Those of you who are lucky enough to have mothers still alive, think of your mother's face, a ball of light, beaming her love throughout the universe, shining her love for all. Man has come and covered up her face, put a blanket over our Mother Earth, blocking out the light, where you no longer have access to that light. All you have is the darkness, the dark ages that man has created, which, by the way, which you have never come out of, which you are still in, the dark ages. But that blanket is rolled over on Mother Earth. The only places, I'll say this to you, and you can decide if it's true or not, the only places where there is still light poking through that blanket is in the territories, where the council fires are still burning. But like I said, there's not many now. There's very few left. You ain't got much time. Like it or not, the clock is ticking on you. And it's ticking on me too. We're about ready to disappear. From a Mohawk nation of hundreds of thousands and perhaps who can say even millions, we are down to but a few. We're ready to fade out. Not that we're ready for it, but that's the precipice that we are facing. We need your help to stay alive. And without us, you have no place to return home to. This is the balance that has to be found. And I'll say this to you again. I don't care what you do. I don't care how much knowledge you think you have in your world, you are not going to find the answer. The answer does not lie in your world of destruction. It doesn't lie there. If there's any other questions?
I know what you just said there about your country there, but I come from there, Gaspé there, from Park Folio. My father and my mother, they're used to have to, they've been expropriated there, then Darrow. Do you realize that we want that change, but we don't have the power to change because that government, you know, and all the gang, they are the G20 or I don't know what they call it, but do you realize that we can't do nothing? We are stuck to the throat. We are stuck there, maybe more than you there, because we try to talk there, but they don't listen, nothing. You know, because us too there, we want that change. That kind of a government or a people. I know there your country there is going to be destructive there if they pass there. You use first there, you block there the road there over there. If we go there, a gang there like we are, over with you there to block the road there, they can pass. Do you think that's going to change something?
I won't advocate that. I won't advocate it. I won't say yes to do that. Because humans, we can find other ways. The only problem is that the people haven't had the opportunity to counsel with one another so that they can determine the best way. And again, this is what this world creates. Make sure that everybody's scattered 100 different ways, that they can't communicate in any intelligent way, that they can no longer counsel with each other. They no longer have the balance of counseling between the male and the female. So it's all just male, even though you can have all the women in this country participating in so-called democracy, whatever the hell that monster is. All the women in the world can be voting in that. Doesn't mean that they're functioning under female. It's a bunch of women who are functioning under male identity. So, you know, the balance hasn't been able to be communicated between the people, so no sound direction on any given thing can be achieved, so people resort to taking physical action. But we can find the proper way. We know now that there is this movement, that there are people who are waking up. And this is why we say, come home. When you come home, we can begin to counsel and we can address what you're saying, because you're talking about a political solution. And the political solution, we are already working on these things. Just to give you an idea, that the Mohawks support the separation of Quebec. But we don't support them separating to become just another Canada. They must separate to become human. If they don't separate to become human, then they're just another animal that's not welcome here.
Okay. Yes. Now I get it.
We don't talk about separation because Quebec is not even part of Constitution. So we already separate. We're just asking sovereignty to be independent to our need and our things. Because that's what we fight for. That's why the government federal fucked up everything to make that in the mind of people separation. This is not a separation. This is a sovereignty of our province, of Quebec, Quebecer.
Well, to address that, Quebecers are right now, they've been locked into becoming the whipping boy, they're the slave boy to Canada. And that means the British Crown. And how that has happened is through Stephen Harper's free trade agreement with Europe. And this is why Parleen Marois has actually been placed in the Parti Québécois to destroy it. So that the Parti Québécois would not be able to organize the people to defend themselves when the Quebec government pushes the Plan Nord. The Plan Nord is the completion of the British Crown's subjugation of the French people. Because now, with the Plan Nord, the free trade agreement with Europe, they're going to devastate this land here.
Selling it to foreigners.
They're going to devastate it. But they put in the minds of the Quebecers that this is freedom. We'll have a lot of jobs. And with a lot of jobs is a lot of money, and what money is power. The only power that money is the power to destroy. That is the only power. There is nothing good that comes with that power of money. There has never been a man able to utilize that money as a power for a good thing. Never. So Quebec is becoming this whipping boy. So when it comes to sovereignty, it's not really there. What has to happen for Quebec? They have to work with. The only power that money is the power to destroy. That is the only power. There is nothing good that comes with that power of money. There has never been a man able to utilize that money as a power for a good thing. Never. So Quebec is becoming this whipping boy. So when it comes to sovereignty, it's not really there. What has to happen for Quebec? They have to work with the native people. But when you have people like Parleen Marois, who are in there purposely to destroy, to dissect the Parti Québécois, all those people in Quebec who looked to that party before as some kind of representation, no, they're just scattered. Their brains, their energy are just scattered. And this is when it's the equivalent of dropping a stun bomb in the middle of this room. And this room, if we draw the parallels between this room and the so-called province of Quebec, the stun bomb has just been dropped on the people in the province of Quebec. They just don't know it. They can't see further than their nose because there's a dollar bill there blocking their vision. All they see is what they can steal. What they can steal from the land. To put in their pocket because they view it as some kind of profit. They view it as something of benefit to them. Anyways, on that issue, I don't know if there's any other questions.
When you talk about the male is dominated and getting to do bad things, whatever, when he's got too much advance and everything, I'm talking about your organization in Kanawaki with a woman. You call that a mother of band, a mother of la mère de clan. You got that. And I think you mean by that, there's a woman where decided who's going to be the one who's going to lead, who's the one going to be able to do things, and they have the view of it. When they were looking at man around, they've been decided things, whatever.
This, in all issues, this is what you have to have. You have to understand that we're a bunch of people that come from our individual families. And in our individual families, there's a boss in our family. It's our mother. Why is it when we all get together, our father becomes the boss? How does that happen? All issues are rooted first in how the women feel comfortable on that issue. And there is no cookie cutter plan like to say it's generalized over all things the way your man-made laws are. Within the Kanawaki Nation, like what you just identified, we have a thing that the English language identifies as clan mother. But in our language, it's Oyane and Odeana. Royane, Rodeana. They sound both the same, don't they? Royane, Rodeane. The only thing that you can differentiate there is female and male. So when you translate that to English, you're talking about male chief and female chief. But when you identify clan mother, if you hear clan mother and chief, doesn't one sound like it's above the other? Clan mother doesn't carry the same weight for some reason as chief. But when you say female chief, then you know where the authority is. This is what we have. We have female chief. That's the head of our nation. That's the source of our life. That's the future mothers of our nations. That's everything. How can you oppress them? How can you murder it? How can you murder, rape, oppress the women? How can you allow your religions to do that? How can you allow your God that man created, give him that power back to that very man who created that God to go out and to kill the women? How could you allow that? And you can say that's in the past. But you know what? You allow those very organizations still here to continue to rape your little boys and oppress your women and to destroy the land. Why? How are they destroying the land? This big church right here in Old Montreal, Notre Dame Basilica. The Notre Dame Basilica, that's the Sulpicians. Here's something that hopefully I don't see why you don't know this. You should know this.
Attention, ne déposez à l'entretien de la station périphérique. Ne déposez à l'entretien de la station périphérique communiqué.
You should know this, that that church has a lot of stock holdings. I'll name off a couple of the companies to you. Talisman. You know who the Talisman Corporation is? Cross Canada is another company that they have stock in. What's that, Cross Canada? Well, that's the ones that are building the pipeline across Canada. But they also have stock in many other corporations. They first steal the money from you, and then they invest it in your public sector, tax-free. And then they steal the profits from that, but to get those profits, they have to go into countries like Chile, Peru, Mexico, steal the land from the people, kill the people that are there, but sit at home here and pass themselves off as good, law-abiding citizens. Nothing but a bunch of goddamn murderers. And you allow them, that organization, to still be here, the very organization that I'll guarantee you in your bloodline, there are your mothers that organization killed. I'll guarantee you, every single one of you, trace your bloodline back and you'll find your mothers, your grandmother, somebody in your line that was murdered by that organization, and you allow them still to be functioning. There's something wrong with you, isn't there? What is it? This is what's wrong with you. Your body and your spirit are not connected. Because I'll ask you this question. And I want you to answer by raising your hand. Who here wants to kill our Mother Earth? Raise your hand. Who wants to kill our Mother Earth? Nobody? Somebody here must want to kill our Mother Earth. I don't see nobody's hands up. Okay, who here is killing our Mother Earth? How does this happen? How is it when you're asked, do you want to? You say no. But yet, when you're asked, are you? You say yes. What is that? Doesn't that identify to you? Aren't you worried that you may be functioning under a schizophrenic identity? This society, under democracy, is a schizophrenic society.
Hypocrite.
It's a brain-damaged society. And anybody underneath it functions within it. You should be worried. You should be waking up to the fact that you're dysfunctioning. But that you are functioning under what could be labeled schizophrenic tendencies. Your body and your spirit is not connected. What you need to have this connected is like what was stated, like what Gawazande had stated, the ceremony. You don't have anything sacred in your world anymore. And no matter what you say, all your religions, it's something that is man-made that is sacred. It's not something that has risen out of creation like the female that is sacred. No. It's something that we have created, which is a negative in this world, that we hold sacred. You got to get back to your ceremony, which means that you got to renew your link to our mother. If you don't do this, you got nothing. Look around you in this society. What you have, what is slipping away from you, and what you need, and what you want, and what you desire. What you want, what you need, what you desire is slipping away from you so fast that you won't be able to attain it. You won't be able to reach it. The door is almost closed on that. I've gone too far, so...
No, it's good. Good man.
Thank you.
I want to thank the Mohawk Traditional Council, the women and the men, and people who join together. And I want to I'm not good singer, but I just want to sing a little phrase that is come from the Mayan and the other Aboriginal or Autochthon or Native people from the South. Is the words of Stuart is wake up, wake up, wake up, listen to your heart, wake up, wake up, wake up, we are one, we are one, we are one. So we can sing it together. Wake up, wake up, wake up, listen to your heart. Wake up, wake up, wake up, we are one, we are one, we are one. It goes on and on. To wake up really is the path. And this is the feminine part instead of our head only, like in every school. Thank you.
Woman, women.